13 of you on the line. I think we may have lost some of your peers. Like, can someone say yes if you can hear me? Yeah. Great, thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, and we also have a video link up on YouTube. Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
On Learning Space, so you can watch it live later. All right. Yeah. So, well, welcome everybody. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. We had some problems with the conference call line, but we're now live. And to the ones who were joining on time, thank you for waiting, and thank you for your flexibility. That was actually your first test as Peace Corps, as future Peace Corps volunteers. You know how much patience you have and how flexible you can be. All right. So we're gonna start by introducing ourselves. Jamie,
Okay, I'll come back on here. So my name is Jamie Brancato. I'm the Director of Program and Training with Peace Corps Peru.
My name is Enrique Guillan. I'm the Training Manager here at Peace Corps Peru.
And my name is Lisette. I'm the Program and Training Specialist.
My name is Jorge Delgado. I am the Program Manager of the Youth Project.
All right, so thank you again all for being here.
Should we confirm Michelle?
Yeah, Michelle, are you in the line? Can you introduce yourself too?
Are you there, Michelle? She might not be there.
Okay.
We're waiting for our country desk officer to get on the line. I don't think she's there. We'll continue with the call, and in the meantime, I'll send her a message.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what I wanted to start with welcoming you to the Peace Corps Peru team. We're very excited to have you here in September. We are getting ready for that. As you know, there's a website or Learning Space page, right, that you all have joined to. So please make sure that you go to learning.peacecorps.gov and you go to the Peru 34 course page, and then you complete all the assignments. We have required readings there. We just uploaded some information from the youth development team. They have put together some information about what a youth development facilitator does, and also who the counterparts are, who the main socios or counterparts are, and also the project framework. So you can look at the activities and the objectives that the youth development project wants to achieve. That's going to be done through you guys. All right. There's also some urgent tasks there that you need to complete. Michelle will talk to you more about it. There will also be some surveys that you need to complete. And there's also the required documents. The deadline for those documents is this Monday, coming Monday, August 12th. So please make sure that you complete, that you upload those documents. Those 3 documents are your resume in Spanish. There is a specific template that we need you to use, and we need you to download and fill out. Please, it has to be in that format. It has to be in Word format. Please don't upload it in PDF because it will give us problems later. Make sure that somebody proofreads your document. If you have native Spanish speaking friends, or if you are heritage speaker, make sure that somebody takes a look at it so that you know that it's actually well done. And then also, the second document that you have to upload is your aspiration statement. You all have to write an aspiration statement, and you have to upload it to Learning Space. And the third document you have to upload is your resume in English, right? So those are the 3 documents that you have to upload. The deadline is Monday, August 12th. All right, so there's also in the news forum that you can all, I know that a lot of you have been uploading their videos. Thank you to the ones who've done that. If you still haven't done that, please do it. That's a way for us to know who you are, to get to know you, and a great way for you to practice your Spanish too. All right, if you have any questions about Learning Space, do not hesitate to contact me. I'll be sending out an email later today with more information about that and to guide you to where you have to go in order to complete the tasks. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to Jorge and Lisette. We're going to tell you more about the youth development project.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Jorge Delgado. I would like to explain you what is the logic behind our project. So first of all, I want to say thank you very much for applying for the youth project here in Peru. We have a lot of expectations for you to come. The first point I would like to mention is to start our project, we did a baseline study. So based on this baseline study, we know what are the problems in Peru with youth. So identifying this problem, we realized that there are two main focuses we would like to cover in our project. The first one is the educational aspect, and the second one, the economical aspect of the youth. So based on this study, we decided to start our project, and our purpose and our goal in our project is to allow or help the youth, people living in Peru, to improve their status in the aspects of education and economy. So also, we would like to cover some aspects in regards to what are the conditions in the youth, not only with the youth, also talking about the parents and also talking about the people that is working with youth in Peru. So our objectives are related to that. So our first objective is going to be improve youth leadership skills. The second one is going to be to develop the individual's capacity to design and manage youth-led projects. And the third one is related to parents. So we would like to develop the parents' capacity to support youth and communicate better with their teenagers. So the activities we're doing as a project are basically related to three main partners at this point. The first one is going to be the schools. We are working inside the schools. We are working in coordination with the teachers. There is a tutoring system in Peru that we are helping with our volunteers. So the work with them is in three levels. We expect volunteers co-planning. We expect also the volunteers co-facilitating. And also we are expecting volunteers working with the partners to co-evaluate what they are doing. So these are the three dimensions of our project to cover all the expectations we have. The tutoring program we have in the schools in Peru are well aligned with our project. So we are not doing anything different than the Peruvian government, because we have the same objectives and the same logic behind. Another strategic partner we have in the youth project is the health center or health post we might have in our communities. In these places, we are helping the health staff that is working with teenagers. So they usually have activities in the schools or they have activities outside of the school. So we are working close with them. And again, our volunteers are working co-planning, co-facilitating, and again, co-evaluating the activities. This focus with the health center is mainly sex education, but it's not at all in all cases. The last partner we have as a traditional partner in the youth project are the municipalities, the local governments we have in the Peruvian context. So in the Peruvian context, local governments, they have a social development office. In this place, there is a person that has to do something with youth. So we are, again, co-planning, co-facilitating, and co-evaluating activities with this person or someone that can be working closely with our volunteers. So these are the three main partners we have in the youth project, but lately, we've been also working with the national police. So the national police, they have also preventive programs to work with youth. So we are now working also with them. We are developing an agreement. We are doing a lot of things to involve the work also with the national police. So this is not a traditional partner, but it's working very well in terms of what we want to accomplish as a youth project. The other important aspect I would like to mention as a youth project, we have a 6-year plan in all the communities we are working with right now. So it means that we have a commitment as a long-term intervention. This is the reason why we expect from volunteers who are getting involved in our project a 2-year commitment, because that's something very important for us. We have a long-term intervention, and it's very important for us volunteers to stay 2 years in service. This is something very important as a project we would like to emphasize in this communication, because it's part of the logic we would like to accomplish in the project. Finally, I would like to mention that Lisette and I were working very close in terms of organizing the PST. We have a lot of great ideas for the training, and we are sure that we're going to cover this very well. And we are also working in regions in Peru. We have 6 regions we're working. The first one is Amazonas, and Amazonas is a region that is in the rainforest, basically. We have also volunteers in Cajamarca, and Cajamarca is mostly highland. The other region we're working in is La Libertad, and La Libertad is basically Coast and Highland. We have also Junín, and Junín is a region that is mostly highland. And we have also Pasco, which is highland and rainforest as well. These are the places we have sites and we have volunteers working with right now.
Okay, this is Jamie again. I'm gonna ask for two things that we forgot to mention when we first started this call. Can I first ask if everyone could put their phones on mute? And then at the end of the call, we will open a space for questions. But right now, sometimes there can be interference with so many people connected to one line. Thank you. And then my next point is that we have Michelle, our country desk officer, on the line. Michelle, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I'm your country desk officer from Peru. My sole purpose is to work with staff and here to support lucky trainees and volunteers with any logistics that you need. Right now, we're working on, as I heard Enrique already speaking about the resumes and aspiration statements, please have those uploaded. I will be emailing you also in a few weeks the bridge to service, which will be sent out in your emails. It will give you a little bit more information on what to expect in country when you arrive. If you do have any questions after this call, I think Enrique and the team will be opening up the questions and answers segment, so feel free to ask me any questions during that time. However, you get specific questions, please send an email to me and I'll make sure to reach out to you after that. And also, we will be, feel free to also reach out to me regarding your staging that will be happening in Miami. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So there'll be more time to engage Michelle in questions at the end, as she mentioned. We'll have some more logistical updates. So my portion of the call is I want to share with you some key messages from post from the staff now that we are 1 month out from joining service here in Peru. So the first thing we like to talk about is your commitment to service. As you will be exploring over the next couple weeks, if you have not already, is you'll be reviewing the core expectations of Peace Corps service. And one of them has to do with your commitment to 27 months of service. That includes your 3 months of pre-service training and your 24 months of service. You know, in all of our experience with Peace Corps, sometimes volunteers say to themselves, well, I'll give it a try. I will go through PST and I'll see how it goes. And if I don't like it, I will leave. Of course, that is a natural part of exploring service and exploring the experience that you're about to embark upon. But for us, from Peace Corps Peru to you, we really would like you to start exploring that commitment now and make those decisions now before you come to country. Our commitment is not only to you, but our commitment is to the communities that we serve. And when we identify those communities and we work with those communities over years, we promise them a volunteer for 2 years. And we promise them collaboration in meeting their priorities and their needs in their community. And in order to do that, we also want our volunteers to make that same commitment. And so I ask you right now to start exploring your commitment and really evaluate where you are. And for your sake, think about your priorities and also think about the priorities of the communities that Peace Corps serves. Another aspect of exploring your commitment oftentimes before coming into service is you're thinking about your relationships back home, right? You're thinking about your friends, your family, and maybe some significant others. If you are currently in a relationship and you are choosing to serve, we really ask you to think about that now. Think about what that's going to mean for you. Make sure your partner is very supportive of this decision, and make sure you come up with a plan about how you are going to manage a long-distance relationship for the 2 years. Because communication in country is challenging. You will not have the regular access that you're used to, and so we want you to think about that now before you come to service. In terms of family, it's very common, that family events will occur while you're here. People's lives will go on. They will have babies. There will be weddings. There will be graduations. And so talk now to your family about that. Talk to them about planning very special events and taking into account some of the Peace Corps policies that exist around your ability to take vacation. One of those is very important, is that you will not be able to take vacation for the first 3 months of your service. So that means 3 months after you will swear into service. So you swear in at the end of November. That means for December, January, and February, you'll be expected to remain in your site and not take vacation. We do not make exceptions for a best friend's wedding. We do not make exceptions for your sister's wedding. And so please talk to your family now, your friends, and make sure that those commitments are understood and what it means to come to service, okay? Professionalism. You'll read a lot of information that we're sharing with you. Headquarters and post, we're sending information to you through Learning Space, through all your interactions to prepare. But professionalism for us is an extremely important concept that we want to talk with you today as you, again, continue to reflect on what it means to commit to service. You are not just a volunteer. For us, you are a development worker. For the communities that you're serving, you are a development worker, and you will be perceived as that. You have an education, you have experience, you all come from different walks of life. That at the end of the day, you will all be perceived as a person coming to the community to offer technical support. This is important, and cross-culturally, professionalism and what that means we'll talk about a lot during your PST. But right now, I just want to talk about some key points at a higher level of what that looks like for Peace Corps and how we interpret that. So the first thing about being a professional in Peace Corps is policy. I will be delivering 2 sessions during your pre-service training that have to do with Peace Corps policies. We will go into detail so you can ask us questions, you can understand how they apply to service. And going before that, we are going to send you the handbook. So next week, you should expect a version of the Peace Corps Peru Policy Handbook to be uploaded to the Learning Space. Enrique will be letting you know when that's uploaded. It will be our expectation that you review that handbook before you come to Peru. We want you to review the entirety of that handbook. And then I will be delivering a policy session in your first or second week of PST, and we will start exploring a lot of those key policies that impact your service. Volunteer conduct. Volunteer conduct is a key component of core expectations. Volunteer conduct is a key component of professionalism and Peace Corps policy. So for me, that is a theme that you will see running throughout a lot of the information that we share with you. It is a theme that we'll be discussing in PST. And so please pay particular attention to those messages. Please remember that you do represent Peace Corps. You represent something much larger than yourself. And once you begin service, once you begin PST even, we will be setting those expectations for you as well. And volunteer conduct can take many forms. And again, you'll be looking at that in the handbook. But I'm going to mention a couple of them here while we have you on this call. One of the core, let me just sort of picture you by accident. One of the core policies that I want to pay particular attention to, and that you will also discuss at staging with your staging facilitators, has to do with the drug policy for Peace Corps worldwide. Peace Corps has a zero tolerance drug policy. Zero tolerance means just once is enough, and that means administrative separation. Administrative separation is when Peace Corps determines that your service is ending for breaking a policy and you return to the United States. The drug policy we will discuss in detail when you get here, when I do the policy session, but I want to explicitly discuss the use of marijuana. Although the use of marijuana is becoming legal in certain states in the United States, federally it is not legal. And as a Peace Corps volunteer, you are part of a federal agency and you are expected to follow federal laws. Regardless of the laws in the local country in which any Peace Corps volunteer serves in the world, you are expected to follow U.S. federal laws. And the federal law says marijuana is also illegal. So marijuana falls into the same no tolerance policy. If this is a concern for you, if this is something that you feel will be difficult for you to manage, I implore that you make that decision now. When you come to Peace Corps, it will be expected from day one that you all follow this policy. When you read the documents about the drug policy, I really encourage you to explore why this policy exists. And it's a very important one going to protecting Peace Corps' integrity as an agency and our representation in the countries in which we serve. And our agency, for this reason, depends on each of you making those choices. Next, volunteer conduct. What else does it have to do with? When we talk about professionalism and volunteer conduct, this one might not come to your mind at first, but for us, culturally speaking, is very important. This has to do with dress and hygiene. When you're starting to pack, we really want you to think about what does it mean to look like a professional in the development context. And that can vary. You might all have different experiences in different countries. Absolutely, there are cultural norms that affect what this looks like, but I can tell you that in Peru, there's pretty much a standard that you can follow in terms of your packing list that will ensure that you bring professional clothing to service. You will be meeting government offices, you'll be going into local schools, you'll be going into health centers, and in every one of those settings, the training staff will be telling you what you should be wearing every day, and we want you to start getting used to what that looks like. We've had volunteers that show up, like they're packing for a camping trip. You're not here on a camping trip. Please don't just bring zip-off pants and a fishing shirt with a lot of pockets. That's not what you're here for. Please think about pants, and for females, you could wear pants or you could wear long skirts, you could wear dresses. Think about what is business casual and very basic clothing that you can mix and match, and you don't need to bring several outfits of that can last you throughout your 2 years of service. And I will say, as a former volunteer, I did serve in Peru. You can get clothes made here in Peru very cheaply, and you can get quality cloth and materials made to your size and liking, and it's very accessible all around the country. So there are also other options once you arrive in the country. Okay. ¿Qué más? Communication. So this is often a big topic. Again, you're going to get some more information about this on Learning Space in a document called Bridge to PST. But we want to start talking to you about adaptation and what service means in terms of communication. When you arrive to Peru, we'll talk to you more about cell phones. We'll talk to you more about how do you access the internet. We know that's important for you all. It's also important for your work. And we want you to also start thinking about how you can start adjusting your behaviors that you might be used to in the United States with regular access to communication that you will not have available to you upon arrival to Peru. Some of you might have more access in your host families than others, and that's just the nature of service. Once you move to your sites, your access will change again dramatically. The key to this is to start adapting. We see a lot of volunteers these days, more and more with technology, becoming more and more dependent on technology. Your cell phone, your computer, your iPad, any other type of device that you may have. The key component that I like to really boil it down to is, why are we here? Why are we here in service? And it's to build relationships. And building relationships, really culturally speaking, I would even argue in the United States culture, requires face-to-face interaction. It requires putting the phone down. It requires taking time and getting to know people. And you can't do that if you're always having one phone in one hand talking to your mom on WhatsApp, okay? If you got 1 foot in the United States and 1 foot in Peru, you're always gonna have 1 foot in both, and you're gonna have a very difficult time integrating and adjusting. And so my advice to you is, start now. Start disconnecting. Start challenging yourself each day. I'm only going to use the phone this many hours. I'm only going to email this many times. And start getting used to weaning yourself from that so that when you arrive, you're going to be a little bit more accustomed to the gaps that you will find in that in communication. I would also say going back to my message about managing family expectations, that tends to be a challenge for volunteers. Is your parents want to talk to you every day. Your family wants to talk to you every day. Please start talking to them now about what you consider a reasonable standard of communication. Back in the day, I talked to my mother once a month. That worked. Okay. I set a date. I got on a bus. I traveled to my local city. It took me about 2 hours. I got there and I got on that payphone and I called my mom and we talked. Right? And that was our standard that I maintained throughout my service. So start thinking to yourself, what could that look like? You do have more access than I did when I was a volunteer. And I would say regulate, self-regulate, and start exploring what this could look like for you. Okay. Speaking of integration, we do want to talk about what it's going to look like when you start this experience. You're going to arrive to Peru, and for those first 11 weeks, you're going to live with a local host family that's about an hour and a half east of Lima, and that's our training community area. This training community, we'd like you to consider as your first site. We refer to where you live for 2 years as your site. Oftentimes, the training community feels temporary because it is just that, but we don't want you to lose sight of the value in learning how to integrate and how to become part of that community. The host families that we have here in our training communities are outstanding, well-trained, well-experienced, and you're going to adore them. So start thinking about that now. The day you put your foot on the ground is the day you really are starting this process. And we want you to practice the skills and the knowledge that we share with you during PST and apply them in your training community so you're better prepared when you move off to service, okay? And then the last piece. One of our favorite core expectations in Peace Corps is core expectation 3. Write that down. Core expectation 3. And in summary, it says, go where Peace Corps asks you to go under the conditions of hardship if necessary. It's actually one of the ones that hits home for me on many levels. And we will emphasize this messaging with you throughout PST. We're going to talk about where you can serve. Jorge already mentioned the regions in which we are placed. Our 2 projects, health and youth, work in the same regions. Your program teams are going to be talking to you about sites and the characteristics of those sites, and they'll be exploring site placement with you. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Peace Corps staff decide where you will be living and working for your 2 years of service, okay? And so we want you to, again, start managing your expectations at this point. We will give you guided conversation opportunities to sit with your project teams. They will ask you questions to explore more about who you are, and they will do their very best to make a skills match, to match the needs of the community to the best of their ability. But you can imagine when we're exploring between 50 and 60 different communities of placement, that's a very complicated process. And so I ask you, take Core Expectation 3 and trust our process. The team has been working very hard, and they continue to work very hard to identify and prepare these sites for you. And I think that concludes my components. Anything else, Jorge?
Yeah.
Please.
About March.
Yes, oh, absolutely. So, thank you. Jorge just reminded me. So another part of our policy handbook that you'll see next week when I share it with you, the youth program has a specific requirement in terms of when you can take vacation and when the school year starts here in Peru. The school year in Peru is different than the school year in the United States, okay? The school year typically starts in March, right, officially. Your teachers and the school community might start coordinating as early as February, okay? But as of March, we expect all youth volunteers to be in their sites and working with their schools, okay? This means that even though your first 3 months of service concludes with February, and you are allowed to take vacation after February, the youth volunteers are not permitted to take vacation in the first month of March, in the first month of the school year, okay? And this is explicitly written in our handbook. You may be asking, well, why? Why do we have to do an extra month? The school, as you may imagine, is a key principal partner for our youth volunteers in the community. It is the primary place where you will be working for your 2 years. And the relationships that you will form and the work planning that you will do in the first month of the school year are critical to setting up a successful base for your service, okay? We'll talk about this more when you get here, but we do want to make that clear. Thank you, Jorge, for reminding me. So as you're looking at planning and vacations and your family or friends are asking you, please know that for youth volunteers, the months of December, January, February, and March, you're expected to be in your site. Okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jamie. So after all these key messages, this, as Jamie said, will be also included in the Bridge to PST, the pre-service training. That's an acronym you'll be hearing a lot. Now I want to talk to you about training, the training process, PST, right? Pre-service training. So pre-service training will be 11 weeks, starting on September 11th when you get here, all the way until November 29th when you swear in as volunteers, right? So our pre-service training is composed of 3 main areas. The first one being technical training, right? Lisette here is your programming and training specialist, is your a technical training expert, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what technical training is going to look like.
Okay, so as Enrique said, we're going to be working 11 exciting weeks about technical aspects, and we're going to cover each week is going to cover a different topic. So we're going to train you on all the things that you need to do to do your job. And first, we're going to start with the school settings. We're going to teach you and train you on how the school works here in Peru, how everything is set up. And then we're going to cover all the objectives that the program has. So we're going little by little, and you're going to have a chance to practice everything that has been shared with you. So don't worry at this point, I don't want to talk more, but you're going to have full guidance, full training, and we really hope that you feel trained and you have all the tools that you need to perform your job the best way. So
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of Lisa during pre-service training, right? She's gonna be your main point of contact for all things technical training. You will also receive a link to skills inventory. We wanna know what your technical skills are and your technical expertise is before you come to post. So we'll be sending you a link so you can complete this survey, and that will give Lisette and the team more ideas and more information about what to do and how we can engage you to in the participation and facilitation during pre-service training. The second big rock of pre-service training is language training, right? Most of you, actually 56 of you, have already received an LPI. You were contacted by our language team. So thank you for that. Thank you for scheduling your LPIs. For the people who still haven't scheduled their LPIs, please email me so that we can schedule one. I know that some people are traveling, some people are out of the country. So if that's the case, please let me know, because we need to have the results of your language interviews as soon as possible, because that also helps us plan for your arrival. In terms of language, you will be receiving Spanish language training, but also Quechua language training, right? As you know, Quechua is one of the languages that is spoken in the Andes of Peru, specifically in the region of Ancash. Volunteers going to that region, they require Quechua training. So how do we choose who gets to go to Ancash? We will be sent in the link in the survey we will send you. We will include a question regarding Quechua training. The question is, have you learned Quechua before, or are you interested in learning Quechua? That's some of the information we'll get that will help us decide. But then the other aspect is also your Spanish language level, right? So we want people who are at an intermediate high level or higher. They will have a chance to take part in the Quechua language training. During the first week of pre-service training, you will meet with Jorge and Lisette, and then you'll have a one-on-one interview. We will talk more about your interests and your skill sets, and then we will decide who gets to go to Ancash. So the second week of pre-service training, we will start Quechua language training. Only those people going to Ancash will know they're going to that region. For the rest of the class, site assignment will happen during week 7 of pre-service training. Specifically, it's going to be on October 30th, right? On October 30th, everybody will know when where their sites are and where they're going to be living for the next 2 years. Another component of training is intercultural training, right? We cannot teach you or train you on everything there is to know about Peruvian culture. That would be impossible. But what we can do is we can give you tools and strategies so that you can be competent in the new culture, right? So that's what our intercultural training focuses on giving you strategies, helping you deal with situations or cultural clashes, right? So we're going to be doing that in your language sessions, in your technical sessions. There's also safety and security sessions and medical sessions, right? We have a team of doctors and a team of safety and security specialists who are going to be training you and helping you in the transition of coming from the States to living in Peru, right? We also have an assessment process. During the 11 weeks of pre-service training, you're going to be observed, you're going to be monitored, you're going to be receiving feedback from our staff that be telling you what we expect from you. There's 12 criteria that we need all of our trainees to accomplish, and we will be monitoring and assessing your performance, right? So we will give you a full session on that the very first day of pre-service training so that you know exactly what we want from you. And then throughout the process, we will be working with you and providing you feedback. The idea is that by the end of pre-service training, everybody reaches these criteria and meets all the requirements for swearing in as a Peace Corps volunteer, right? So we will also include some more information on that in the bridge to PST, but also keep that in mind, right? You come with a set of skills, but then you will also be acquiring some of those skills during pre-service training. And that's what pre-service training is for, because that will help us determine who is ready to serve by the end of pre-service training. All right, so that now I'm gonna ask Michelle if she has any other updates. Michelle? And if you have questions, please, you can type them on the YouTube live for people who are following us there. If not, just wait until the end of the call. We'll open it up for questions on the conference call line. So, Michelle, did you have any other thing to add about pre-departure?
I think that's all I have for right now. I'm just looking for emails from either myself or from staging regarding your flights from your home of record to Miami, which is your staging site. So that's all I have for right now, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, so right after that, so as Michelle mentioned, staging is on September 10th, right? You'll be meeting in Miami. Michelle will be there. You'll receive some initial training, and then on the 11th, you'll be traveling to Lima from Miami. You'll arrive here at night, and then the team here will be there at the airport. We usually request permission to meet you at the gate before you go through migrations. So if we get permission, then the country director, Tim DiCaprio, and myself will be there welcoming you. We'll have a very brief welcome, and then we'll do a head count to make sure everybody's there, and then we'll proceed through migrations. Make sure you have your passports. Michelle will give you more information about that, but you'll receive your official passports. You need that passport in order to go through migrations, right? So that you can get the special type of stamp, which is 183 days, in order for you to be here as a trainee, right? Right after that, then we'll proceed to the buses that will take you to a retreat center where you will sleep one night. Recommendation, please, this is very important. You need to pack one bag, like a backpack or small bag, with the necessary things you need for only one night, right? Because what we will do is we will take your big bags and we'll take them straight to the training center. You won't have access to those bags until the next morning. So your first night, you need to bring in a backpack or a carry-on or whatever, or just a bag, the necessary things you need, like toiletries for the night, and then the clothes you will be wearing the next morning. And then you'll have access to your bags the next day, all right? So please remember that. Remember to pack that small bag. We'll remind you that at the airport, but keep that in mind. That will also be included in the Bridge to PST. A couple other things that you need to remember in preparation for your arrival here is, as Jamie mentioned, formal clothes. You'll be working in schools. And then the attire in schools is very important, right? You have to set the example. So remember that slacks, dresses, skirts, shirts, that's very important for the time you're going to be spending in schools. I already mentioned resumes and aspiration statements and resumes in Spanish. Read the Bridge to Pre-Service training, which will be uploaded next week. And then a couple things on sleeping bags. Sometimes people ask that question. If you do have space, you can bring one. If not, you can always buy one here. How do volunteers use sleeping bags? Depending on the place where they are placed, sometimes they need a sleeping bag, to cover themselves at night. Or there are times when we have field-based training activities, and then you need those sleeping bags. But as I said, if you don't have space, don't worry about it. You can always buy one here. And another recommendation is gifts for your host families. You will have 2 host families. One during pre-service training during the first 11 weeks, and another family for your 2 years of service, right? So make sure that you bring small gifts for them, so that you can, give to them as token of appreciation. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions, please, yes, yeah. So we have a few minutes for questions. There was a question on the live chat about the regions. I did type that already. And I also mentioned you will know when you're placed on during week 7 on October 30th. Do you have any other questions in the conference call line?
I have a question.
Yes, can you say your name, please?
My name is Bailey.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask what kind of clothes you pack in that one emphasize is the overnight, what the faculty told us it was going to be the first.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so for that one night, so like, so for the, when you travel on the airplane, you guys can, just, yeah. Business casual clothes for the next day. Just, pack a shirt, something that's business casual for your first day in pre-service training. Yes, yeah, you will be meeting your host family that day, yeah. Yeah, but when you are on the plane, don't worry about, you don't have to, when you arrive at the airport, you don't have to be wearing business casual clothes, okay? So don't worry about that. When you go to the training center the next morning, yes, you need business casual clothes. So that pack something that's business casual, but on the plane, you're fine if you're more comfortable traveling in more comfortable clothes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right. Any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, what's your name?
My name is Christina Alden.
Okay, thank you. What's your question?
One of my questions is, I was curious as to for those who have diet restrictions, I was wondering what type of priorities do we have for PNC training? I know that when terms that we have to work with what we are given and accommodate, especially to the cultural atmosphere, but I'm more curious as to what kind of food we offer for PNC.
So we will send you a survey. There will be a survey. Next week, we will upload a survey on Learning Space. It's called Host Family Placement Survey. In that survey, we will ask a question regarding dietary restrictions. Because we know it's a transition coming from the United States to Peru. So we also wanna work with host families and prepare them if there's people that have dietary restrictions, right? So please make sure that you complete that survey, host family placement survey, and include that information there about your dietary restrictions. And then we will consider that, especially for the first day of training, we will provide food for all of you.
Then flexibility.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but as you said, yes, during your service and depending on where you're placed, you definitely need to be very flexible because host families in the rural areas, sometimes they don't know what gluten means, or they don't know what celiac or lactose intolerant means, right? They're used to eating a regular diet, and it's very hard for them to understand that. So flexibility is definitely something that you need to have in order to work with your future host family.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Jenna Gustafson.
All right. Hello, Jenna. What's your question?
I was wondering, during pre-service training, will volunteers be sharing with families?
No, Jenna, every volunteer will be placed in a house. Maybe there will be 2 volunteers living on the same street, or maybe they'll be neighbors, next door neighbors. But everyone gets a family. What happens sometimes is they might be, related, the families might be related, and maybe on the weekends, trainees might end up having a meal together with the 2 families. But we want every trainee to have their own experience with a host family. Yeah, exactly. Married couples, they do live in the same house, of course.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So if there are no other questions, then we're gonna end our call. If you have any questions, please do contact me or contact Michelle. perudesk@peacecorps.gov. You can always send an email, and then we'll reach out to you if you have questions. So yeah, thank you so much for joining the call, and we're really excited to meet you in September.
And feel free to email me my
Thank
personal email address as well, and see they can peacecorps.gov. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yes. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Do you want to email? Or is it the same line? I just put mute.